Hey there, welcome back to Module 7 about post-sale emails. Here in Lesson 2, we're talking about downsell sequences. Now, if you don't know what a downsell is, it's simply a lower priced offer that you make to people who don't buy during kind of a promotion of your signature offer. And here in Lesson 2, you'll learn why you might want to consider a downsell email sequence, how to craft a downsell sequence, and when to send those downsell emails. So that's what we're going to cover. Let's dive in. The important point I want you to get is that just because someone didn't buy your signature offer doesn't mean they aren't interested. I want you to get that through so that you feel comfortable with that and don't feel like someone not buying is a sign that they're not interested at all. Now, people who don't buy during a launch might be saying not now, but they also might be saying not that product. And in the prior lesson, I talked about this example of people responding to my template library by telling me that they didn't need all of them and they wished I had an individual templates for sale. So that's an example of someone saying this just wasn't the right product for me. So offering non-buyers the chance to buy a lower priced product can increase your launch revenue. And just as importantly, because you already have them in the launch, these kinds of downsells tend to be pure profit because you're not going to be running Facebook ads or anything like that, getting people into downsells. You're simply going to offer it to them through email as a way to increase your revenue and profit from your launches. So let's talk about what makes it a good downsell. Now, your downsell should be a product that is related to the launch offer, but should be less expensive and also less of a commitment. And less of a commitment by you, but also by them. So that's often what people are looking for. They're looking for something that's, well, not quite that much. Maybe it's not that expensive, and maybe I don't have to spend that much time on it. Because look, so that you understand, the biggest objections you will hear from people are time and money. You'll hear some other ones that are personal things, but time and money will be some of the biggest objections you're going to hear from people. So by offering them a product that is not as expensive and that's less of a commitment, you're addressing those two potential objections. Now, the thing I want you to also think about is it could be your course without support. For example, if you're offering an online course, or a smaller related product like I did with downselling from the template library into individual templates. So that's kind of an example of a smaller related product. You can see how there are myriad options, but they should be related and they should be kind of just a smaller type of commitment and smaller price. Now, the sequence you're going to send should be a handful of emails to acknowledge their decision not to buy and present the offer. When I've done this, I tend to do 3 emails, but you could do a few more if you wanted to. But the concept is, and I really want you to get this, you're going to send it after acknowledging their decision not to buy. So the first email should absolutely praise them for deciding not to buy. And this may seem weird, but you want to praise their decision not to buy because apparently your offer was not right for them right now. And it might, for example, be that you're going to recognize that they may have a lot of things on their plate already, taking up their time, and the last thing they need is another big time commitment. And you can see how if that's kind of what you're pitching, you're going to explain, hey, that's good. I'm glad you made that decision. Or it could be, you could focus on the money that maybe, right now is not the time for them to make this kind of investment. And you could talk about both, for example, the time and the money investment. What you're doing here is making assumptions about why people didn't buy, hopefully based upon prior times that you've done your survey of non-buyers, so you really have a sense of why people tend not to buy. And then you're going to do something after that. After you've praised their decision not to buy, that's when you present the downsell offer. Now, again, you do this in that first email. So the first email script kind of is you praise their decision not to buy, recognize, acknowledge, etc., and then offer the downsell. And here's the pro tip. Ideally, the downsell offer addresses the reason that you're praising them for not buying. In other words, if you're praising their decision not to buy because they probably have too many things that are already on their plate and now is not the time for them to take another course, then your downsell offer should be something that is simple and not a big time commitment. So you're kind of feeding into, hey, it was good of you to decide not to do this 12-week, dedicated course with a lot of commitment, etc. But hey, here's this smaller thing that you can, bite off and do in a couple of weeks and just get it done. You see how that would be kind of the perfect downsell offer because you're addressing their objection and the reason you praised them for not buying in the first place. So that's what you're going to do in that first email. Then the follow-up emails are short and sweet, reminding them of the downsell offer and providing urgency. There's no real rocket science here. You just want to remind them, and you're going to set some kind of deadline. There needs to be some kind of urgency. Now, the urgency could be based upon, for example, that you're giving a discount off of something that exists, or it could be that you don't offer this downsell product except during this limited period after launch, but you want some kind of urgency, and your follow-up emails are really just about reminding them of the deadline. So that's kind of what your emails are. Now let's talk about timing. The downsell sequence should come right after the sales sequence, but you can spread it out to give a breather. Now, I want to make a point here. You're not going to probably send a downsell and a non-buyer sequence. Maybe you alternate. Some launches you do a downsell. Sometimes you do a non-buyer sequence. But you're not going to kind of send those all at the same time because that would be a bit weird. Now, one thing you could do, for example, is have different downsells based upon what people's responses are. That's an option. It's more complicated, but for example, you could have a downsell that is about less time commitment, and you could have one that's about, a less expensive option. You then send your non-buyer sequence, and anyone who said it's the price, you give them the downsell for the cheaper product, and anyone who said it's time, you give them the other downsell. You could do that, but it's probably not going to be worth your time to do that until you get to the point that you're having massive launches with tons of people where you could really segment them out. But this is when you're going to sell it. Start it right afterwards. Again, I think when I've done it, I've often given a week because I've had a week-long open cart. Generally, I wouldn't have the cart open period be long for the downsell be longer than your cart open period for the launch. So if you do a 4-day launch open cart, you would do a 4-day downsell, a 3 to 4 day. But when I've tended to do these 7-day launches, I've done a 7-day downsell period. Now, you'll find an example downsell sequence in the swipe. It is downsell from my template library. And what I did, because the templates are available all the time, the individual templates, I simply offered a 25% discount to anyone who had gone through the launch for a week-long period. So that's how I did it. You'll see that in the swipe here in this lesson. But the key lesson takeaway is that people who've gone through a launch are primed to buy something. So consider a short downsell sequence as a way to kind of, increase your revenue and profits during launches. That's it for this lesson. Now, in the next lesson, which is the final lesson we'll have here in the program, you'll hear why you should consider an onboarding sequence for your program, what to include in an onboarding sequence, and when you can skip an onboarding sequence altogether. So I'll see you in the next lesson.